you're saying you can't go on the trip I planned. If you don't come, you're no longer family. It's common sense since you married my son, isn't it?" That's what Effie, my mother-in-law, said to me, seeking agreement from Cody. I stopped Cody, who seemed like he wanted to say something, and agreed to her proposal. "Goodness, marrying someone so naive to the world is such a hassle. As long as you understand, if you don't come, it's divorce. I'll re-educate you from now on." I was sick of her ridiculous remarks. Little did I know, this would be the last trip with my in-laws. I'm Liliana, 32 years old. I run an app development company. It's still a small company, but I love my work, and every day is a joy. My husband Cody is 37, 5 years older than me, and works at a bank. Both of us are passionate about our work, and we can talk about it for hours, often until morning. Cody is very understanding of my work, and we share household chores. We love our work so much that even after 4 years of marriage, we don't have kids. But we both like children and hope to have them someday. My family runs an auto parts factory. Founded by my dad, it's now run by my brother. Thanks to them, I have the freedom to pursue my dream of starting my app company. Even though our industries differ, I often consult with my brother and dad, who are also business owners. They are always supportive, making my family a huge pillar in my life. Cody's family runs a small factory. Being an only child, Cody was expected to take over, but he refused and chose baking instead. There were good reasons for this decision. Firstly, the factory wasn't doing well, and father-in-law, Andy, was actually considering closing the company with his generation. Honestly, running a small factory is tough nowadays. As a child, Cody often heard Andy talking with bank employees over the phone. Once, he met a very kind and cool banker during a visit to the factory and started accompanying Andy to the bank for meetings just to meet him. Eventually, Cody aspired to be a banker, studied hard, and now works at a major bank. He studied hard for that dream and eventually joined a major bank where he is now. Our marriage seems fine on the surface, but it's actually not going well. Effie doesn't think highly of my job. Since I can work remotely, there are days I work from home. She sees it as a frivolous job and doesn't understand it at all. I get it. For an older generation like our parents, my job is hard to grasp. It's not a physically demanding job, but it's still work, and it can be exhausting. I always adjust my work schedule around the in-laws' plans, so I never inconvenience them. I don't insist on them understanding, but it's frustrating when they think remote work is easy just because I have a flexible schedule. There are other things Effie disapproves of about us. We built our house when we got married, located about halfway between our parents' homes. Despite taking different routes, it takes less than 30 minutes to reach either house. As a dual-income couple, we manage our spending and savings separately. We value our independence and privacy, even as a couple. We contribute a fixed amount for living expenses every month, save the rest for the house, and manage our own money otherwise. Effie disapproves of this lifestyle too. She thinks it's wrong for a couple to talk about privacy. According to her, it's odd for family members to have secrets, and she doesn't consider them a true family. I think because Effie doesn't like me, she finds fault in everything I do. She adores her son Cody, so I'm just a nuisance to her. Every time we meet, she makes snide remarks about us not having children yet. It's something I'm sensitive about, and I'd rather not be reminded. Childbearing is a delicate topic, and usually it's polite to avoid it, but Effie brings it up every time, so I've started to avoid her. To not worry Cody, I've been staying late at work on purpose to avoid meeting her. Effie has done many other surprising things, but there was one incident I couldn't forgive. It happened on the day of my best friend's wedding. After her wedding, my friend was moving abroad. We wouldn't be able to meet as often since we both work. I was really looking forward to celebrating her big day. However, a week before the wedding, Andy came to me with a request. He had an important business reception and wanted me there. I naturally refused. The only thing more important than my friend's wedding would be a parent on their deathbed. That night, something unexpected happened. When I got home from work, my in-laws were at our house. As soon as she saw me, Effie confronted me angrily. "Liliana, what are you thinking? Refusing Andy's request is outrageous. You're my son's wife. It's only natural to prioritize family obligations. Your refusal is unacceptable. You need to rethink your priorities." She yelled at me. Cody was there too, but he said nothing. After asking, I found out the reception was critical for the future of the company. But to me, my best friend's wedding was just as important. I told Effie that. "I understand what you both are saying, but my best friend's wedding is an important event for me, and I don't want to miss it. Besides, I'm not even an employee of Andy's company." As I said this, even Cody chimed in. "Can't you make an exception this time? This is really about the survival of the company. I'm going too, and it's a family effort. We can make it up to you for missing the wedding. It's a family crisis. Can't you help us?" I was shocked. I never thought Cody would say such a thing. He knew how much I was looking forward to the wedding. Then, Andy spoke. "I understand Liliana's point, but this time we really need your help." The atmosphere made it hard for me to refuse. It wasn't just any reception. In the end, I reluctantly agreed to skip my best friend's wedding. I told my friend the truth and explained why I couldn't come. Given that I had previously talked to my best friend about my family situation, she understood my predicament. In fact, she was more concerned about me. I'm fortunate to have such a kind friend. I felt guilty for missing her big day, but once the decision was made, I had to focus on making the reception a success. On the day of the event, Cody and I arrived at the venue early and tried to contact Effie. However, for some reason, Effie didn't answer her phone. As I worried about what to do, the in-laws finally arrived at the venue just 10 minutes before it was set to start. To my surprise, they were in a disheveled state, with messy hair and their suits and shirts all wrinkled. I was shocked and asked Effie, "What happened? What's with your shirt? Today is an important reception, right?" She awkwardly responded, "I just overslept, Liliana. Make sure you're not rude." I was so close to snapping back with, "I don't want to hear that from you," but somehow I managed to hold back. I really want to give myself credit for keeping my composure. During the reception, Effie, not knowing how to converse properly, made a series of rude comments to our guests. It seemed she meant them as jokes, but their strained smiles made it clear they weren't received well. As expected, we didn't secure the contract, and the reception ended without success. I thought to myself that it was to be expected. If I had known it would be like this, I would have preferred to go to my best friend's wedding. I was infuriated at being dragged into such a disastrous reception, ruining my plans and causing issues with the in-laws. To my dismay, they didn't acknowledge any wrongdoing. According to them, "After such a lavish reception with no contract, it's almost like dealing with con artists. Good thing we didn't make a deal with such strange people." I was speechless with astonishment. How can they be so blissfully unaware? After this incident, I became even more uncomfortable with my in-laws and started avoiding them. But unfortunately, there's something I can't avoid. Cody's family has a tradition of going on a family trip every year since his childhood, and it has continued even after we got married. Since our marriage, I've been expected to join these trips, but I'm always stuck with the chores and driving. Arranging hotels, booking meals, researching tourist spots, all these tedious tasks are my responsibility. And if I dare to voice my opinion, I'm immediately shut down with a, "Don't overstep." Even when we visit tourist spots, I'm often left to stay in the room, never getting to visit places I like. Honestly, I dread these annual family trips and always hope I might fall ill on the day. Now, this year's trip season has arrived. Despite their claims of being financially tight, my in-laws insist on a lavish trip. As usual, I was tasked with finding the hotel. I plan meticulously to keep Effie, who's always complaining, in a good mood. Since I'm the only one who doesn't drink, I'm the default driver, but I don't mind as it spares me from their conversations. However, a crisis occurred. Just before the trip, I received news that my mom had collapsed and was in critical condition. In such a situation, going on a trip, even a short one, was out of the question. I lost my composure, thinking I needed to see my mom as soon as possible. It was the day before the trip, so I decided to cancel and started preparing to go to the hospital. Cody offered to come to the hospital with me, but I refused. I felt like he was implying my mom wouldn't make it, which I didn't want to hear. When Cody and I went to tell Effie we couldn't join the trip, she exploded in anger. "You're saying you can't go on the trip I planned. If you don't come, you're no longer family. As my son's wife, it's common sense to prioritize the family trip, right? Right, Cody?" Effie said this, seeking agreement from Cody. Effie interrupted Cody, who looked like he wanted to say something, as if to say she wouldn't entertain any opposing opinions. In that situation, I was so dumbfounded that I couldn't find the words to speak. Nothing could be more important than being with my mom in her critical condition. Just as I was about to respond, my brother called. It seems Mom's condition is serious, but a bit stable. I expressed my desire to rush to her, but he said visiting isn't possible right now due to a contagious disease outbreak. He mentioned that if she recovers, we could arrange a short visit later, so there was no point in coming immediately. Hearing this, I hesitated about what to do. Noticing my indecision, my brother asked what was wrong. I honestly explained the situation about the trip and my current dilemma. My brother, a bit angry, made a good suggestion. I hadn't thought of it in my distress, but the trip destination was near my parents' home. He assured me that I could quickly get to my family's house from the hotel if needed, and there shouldn't be any problem. Indeed, that's true. If I can't visit the hospital, staying at home or at the hotel doesn't make much difference. Accepting my brother's suggestion, I told Effie. "All right, I'll go on the trip." Effie responded, "Goodness! If you had said that from the start, I wouldn't have had to get angry. It's hard to marry someone so naive. As long as you understand, if you don't come, it's divorce. Honestly, I'll have to re-educate you from now on." Cody looked surprised, but we agreed to go on the condition that I could leave for the hospital if needed. Effie remarked, "It would be trouble if our driver suddenly disappeared, right? Oh good, you're part of this family now, so our needs come first. Remember your role as my son's wife. This is a major event. The family trip should be your top priority." Her triumphant attitude and obvious excitement really irked me. But to avoid further trouble, I decided to endure it. On the day of the trip, I was so worried about Mom that I couldn't put down my phone. Yet Effie was drinking beer from the morning. The back seat of my car, which I was driving, turned into a party scene. I was surprised to see Cody joining in the drinking. However, this was a trip for which everyone had rearranged their schedules. I told myself that it would be nice if everyone could enjoy the trip, since we had all made the effort to come. During the trip, Effie's whims were relentless. Demands to stop for the bathroom immediately, or to go to the grocery store for more alcohol. I felt like a servant. But I was prepared to endure such things. That's when my mobile phone rang. It was a call from my brother, thankfully informing me that Mom had survived. Her condition had stabilized and she had regained consciousness. The diagnosis was subarachnoid hemorrhage. However, I couldn't be completely at ease yet. There were concerns about potential after effects. It was reassuring to have my brother keeping me updated as I was feeling anxious. When I shared the news of Mom's recovery with my in-laws, Effie commented, "If she's better, there's no need to bother us with such news. You're making a big deal out of nothing." And then Andy added, "Exactly. No need to spoil our trip with such grim news. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves. I was disgusted that Andy shared Effie's view and didn't want to think of these people as my family. During the trip, they made a ruckus in the hotel, drinking and partying, which was truly embarrassing. This incident deepened my distrust of my in-laws. Thankfully, Mom's condition remained stable, and there was no need to rush to the hospital, allowing us to complete the trip and return home. I was relieved. While I was sorting out the laundry, Effie came to our house. Wondering what it could be this time, she said, "You have a dryer at your house, right? We don't have one, so let me use it," and showed up with loads of laundry. I was exasperated and replied, "There's a laundromat with dryers. I have a laundry of my own, and I'm using it right now, so it's not possible." To which she retorted, "Always so stingy. Once you're done, it's fine. I'll come to pick it up tomorrow. Leave it finished by then," and attempted to leave her laundry in our washroom. Cody stepped in. "Go to a laundromat. Liliana is tired, and she has to work tomorrow. It's not possible." Effie got angry, feeling her son was defending me. She left in a hurry, spewing insults and slamming the door, leaving the laundry behind. In hindsight, if things had been different that day, maybe the course of events would have changed. Later, Effie returned and said, "During the trip, I realized something, Liliana. You lack the awareness of being married to Cody. We might face similar situations in the future. Since we couldn't discuss it, I've decided that Liliana should make a decision." She put a family contract and divorce papers on the table. I was speechless. What even is a family contract? It was ridiculous and confirmed my belief that she can't have a normal conversation. The saving grace was Cody's reaction. He said, "I have something to say. If you keep imposing your biased views on us, I'll cut ties. I can't deal with this anymore. What do you think Liliana is? She's not your servant or housekeeper. You're the one who's mistaken about your position." Effie was stunned. Until now, Cody had hardly ever opposed anything. It wasn't because he agreed with Effie's ideas, but rather he kept quiet to avoid the hassle. Following Cody's words, Effie's anger turned towards me. "You've changed Cody since marrying him. He used to be so sweet. It's crazy for him to talk to me like that. You must have brainwashed him. Turn him back to the old Cody," she accused, confronting me. She believed I had brainwashed Cody into defying her. Then Cody spoke up for me. "The one doing the brainwashing is you, right? Always going on a rampage without listening to anyone's opinion? Frankly, you're a toxic parent. You never let me do what I wanted to. After getting married, instead of calming down, you started spewing your venom at Liliana. Enough is enough. I'm not going to divorce, and if you have a problem, you should stay out of our lives," Cody said. Hearing this, Effie turned to Andy, who was with her, and burst into tears. Andy responded, "If that's what Cody thinks, then fine. We'll cut ties. Do whatever you want," and stormed out. I was surprised but happy that Cody stood up for us like that. Feeling frustrated, I told my brother about this. He became furious. Saying he couldn't stay silent if they were acting this way, he decided to take action. It led to a tragedy in the in-laws family. Turns out my brother's company was a client of my in-laws' company. We had kept our family's company name a secret to avoid creating a power imbalance. The in-laws had no idea they were dealing with my family's company. But with things as they were, we couldn't continue like this. Though I had been patient, avoiding mixing business and personal matters, it had reached its limit. My brother had been having issues with them not meeting deadlines. You can't cherish those who don't cherish you. I discussed it with Cody before talking to the in-laws, and he agreed. Cody also said he had had enough. My brother ended the contract with the in-laws company. It was a business decision. They had been a problematic company, not paying on time and missing deadlines, but we had tolerated it because it was Cody's family's business. But there was no longer a need for that. Later, when my in-laws found out about this, they came to us in tears. Now they're constantly apologizing. They pleaded with my brother to reconsider the contract, but of course that was impossible. It was their responsibility for not meeting deadlines. They should have been grateful for our patience. Cody explained everything to his parents, but they refused to accept it and ended up cutting ties in a rage. Cody wasn't sad, he felt relieved. He had been torn and tired, struggling between us and his family. Since then, we've been living peacefully. I learned that Cody had been supporting his family financially, but he stopped that now. The in-laws' factory went bankrupt. Even without this incident, it was on the brink of closure, drowning in debt. I heard that Cody had been paying for those annual trips, and it's astonishing how they could behave that way using someone else's money. Now the in-laws are living modestly, and Effie has recently started working. I was honestly surprised to see her, who used to call herself a president's wife, working. One day, I saw Effie being scolded while doing a cleaning job. I felt bad for thinking this was karma. She'll learn the harsh realities of society and hopefully straighten. As for us, work is going well. We haven't had children yet, but we enjoy our jobs and life is fulfilling. We are planning an overseas trip for our next vacation. For a while, we're thinking of enjoying life without children.
I always look forward to a laid-back Christmas. But every time I start prepping the decorations, it just never ends. Am I just bad at this? I sometimes wonder. Nothing changed even after I got married. It's like the busiest time of the year every year. And here it comes again this year. My name's Abigail. I got married 6 months ago. I met my husband Jack through a friend, and after dating for 3 years, we tied the knot. Jack has an older brother Ethan, who has a wife Alice and an 8-year-old son. Every Christmas, we go to my in-laws' house and spend the holiday together as a family. This year, it's my first time joining, and I've prepped our house early to get ready for the trip. So, on the afternoon of December 24th, Jack and I headed to my in-laws' house by car. It's my first Christmas with the family, so I might be a bit anxious, but as long as we have fun, that's what matters.
Don't worry, even if my mom's a bit quirky, I've got your back. Plus, Alice will be there too.
That's reassuring.
But really, you'll be fine. My mom, Madeline, is great.
That's good to hear.
I can't wait for the turkey.
I love turkey. Sharing it with family makes it even more special.
Exactly. Let's make the most of it.
We were both really excited for the famous restaurant's turkey that's delivered every Christmas. I was completely reassured by Jack's comforting words. But once we arrived, my mother-in-law Madeline greeted us and immediately put us to work cleaning. When my brother and sister-in-law showed up, you could cut the tension with a knife. The place was a mess. When I started cleaning, it was a big mess. It was so dirty that I wondered how much I hadn't cleaned it. Did she save all this cleaning for today? That was the vibe. Then came dinner, what we'd been looking forward to. Once the turkey from the famous restaurant arrived, Madeline started piling on chores. Please make mashed potatoes. The potatoes are in the pantry. Oh, we're out of eggnog. And we need more apple cider. Can you go buy some? If you told me earlier... Meanwhile, the delicious turkey is just sitting there. I'm starving. I finally finish cooking and rush back from the grocery store. And to my shock, the turkey was completely gone. When I stared in disbelief, Madeline said, "Thanks for your hard work. The turkey was so good, we finished it all. The turkey here is the best. It's tender and the spices are perfect."
I thought you were saving some for Abigail.
"Oh, right. Abigail, come here." She took me to the kitchen and showed me something unbelievable. "Here you go. Look, this suits Abigail perfectly. It's packed with seafood, you know. Be grateful." With that, Madeline handed me a cup of instant noodles. There I was, eating instant noodles alone in the kitchen. I couldn't care less about Madeline's actions, which felt deliberately annoying. And every year she ensured I couldn't have any turkey. 4 years of this, and I had reached my limit. As usual, after cleaning the family home, Madeline said, "Uncle is coming this year. Could you please pick him up from the station?" Jack offered to go, but Madeline insisted. "Jack, you changed the light bulbs." I waited at the station for Uncle, but he never showed. Half an hour passed, and then Madeline called to say that Uncle couldn't make it. I knew it. I returned home to find all the turkey was gone. Madeline had said Uncle was coming, so I let my guard down. I couldn't hold my tongue any longer. Every year it was just me, eating instant noodles. While the family dined on turkey from a famous restaurant, "This is you." I'm the only one who gets cup ramen every year. No worries, it's the last time this will happen. That's when the terrible truth came out. "What do you mean the last time? Don't assume things. It's going to keep happening." Do you enjoy doing this to me year after year? What happened to the Madeline I knew before we got married? That wasn't me. It's no joke to treat your daughter-in-law this way. I see. Fine. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you saying? Stop making fun of me. With that, Madeline stormed off to the living room. I decided to put an end to this and set something in motion. And yet again, I found myself alone in the kitchen, eating not turkey, but groceries, when Jack came in. Jack was furious with Madeline.
Why is Abigail eating instant noodles? Is this happening again?
What are you talking about? She said she wanted to eat it. I never said such a thing. Don't lie. Every year you give me luxurious instant noodles, but you never have any intention of letting me eat turkey, do you?
What? Every year?
I didn't say anything because it's family, but this has been happening for years.
That's enough. Stop this nonsense.
I've never done such a thing. I can't accept someone like Abigail as my daughter-in-law. Enough is enough.
Why is it always about you? Why are you making Abigail's life so miserable for your amusement? Ever since Ethan got married and Alice came into the picture, you've been leaning on me. And now that I'm getting married, you take it out on Abigail? Grow up already.
How could you say that? You're on my side, Jack, right? I gave birth to you. You owe me gratitude.
That's a separate issue. Do you even have a heart, Mom? Leading a life of dependency is pathetic. I have my own life to live, you know. Sorry, but I'm leaving. and I'm never coming back to this house again.
Wait, Jack, are you betraying me? Jack, you can't. I found myself getting a ride home with Jack. We decided to go out for drinks with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. As we talked, they filled me in on Madeline, and I was shocked. Apparently, Madeline was obsessively controlling Ethan, as if he was her personal property. From the start, it felt like she wanted to keep him close, not because she found him endearing as a child, but more like a mini-me that would listen to her every command. Alice had a terrible experience marrying into this. When Ethan wasn't around, she would openly insult Alice's appearance, education, and upbringing, yet pretend to maintain a good relationship. Ethan was clueless, thinking Madeline praised him for having a good wife in Alice, who got along with Madeline and was a hard worker. Things got ugly when the truth came out. Ethan said some harsh words, and then Madeline shifted her focus to Jack. Jack was often busy with work, and it seems Madeline had been constantly feeding him negative stories about my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, practically brainwashing him. But Jack wasn't falling for it. He only pretended to listen and ignored her. She tried to control aspects of Jack's life, like his work hours and weekend plans. Jack remained unfazed, sticking to his own pace. Madeline was frustrated she couldn't control him and was strongly against our marriage. Everyone was being manipulated by Madeline's neediness. Ethan and Jack said they now understood why their dad cheated and left. All the trust within the family broke down when they found out Madeline had been secretly only feeding me instant noodles. We all agreed to have next year's Christmas party at Ethan's place. 3 days later, I received a threatening message from Madeline. She blamed me for everything, demanding I fix her relationship with Jack. When she asked why I reported this to her father-in-law Jackson, I told her it was none of her business and hung up. But she wasn't satisfied and kept calling. I ignored her calls. During the weekend, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law came over. We were dining when Madeline burst in. "Where's that useless daughter-in-law of mine?" We were all shocked. Since she referred to a useless daughter-in-law, she meant me. "You exposed me, didn't you? Don't mess with me. How will you take responsibility? I've lost my home because of you."
What? What's going on?
I explained what had happened. I was working on creating a website for a certain company, which, as it turned out, belonged to Jackson. Jackson, the man we were told ran off because he cheated on Jack and Ethan. So the daughters-in-law thought the same thing too. But it was all a big lie made up by Madeline. When I heard this from Jackson, I was shocked. Jackson never cheated. He told me everything about what really happened. This story was spun by Madeline to suit her own narrative. Back then, Jackson wanted a divorce because he couldn't stand Madeline's possessiveness and controlling nature. But Madeline, who couldn't bear to be alone, wasn't having it. And as time went by, their relationship reached a point of no return. After numerous discussions, they finally managed to divorce, but it seemed that Jackson was kicked out of the house right away. The house where Madeline lived was inherited from Jackson's grandfather before their marriage. Technically, it's Jackson's property. But when they divorced, Jackson was thrown out, and when I told his grandfather, He was so angry that he sold the house. Madeline stormed in, furious. I was afraid that knowing the truth would tear our family apart, but thanks to Madeline's actions, now everyone knows.
What the hell is going on? Why did you lie to us?
That's not what happened. Jackson definitely cheated. That's why he kept pushing his opinions on me. He took away my freedom. I thought I could get a divorce that way, because he's such a simple, stupid man.
Ugh, Mom's assumptions again. Always making things up to suit yourself.
What are you even saying? I'm not wrong. All the fault lies with Jackson.
So, you had evidence of him cheating? Mom, you just jumped to conclusions. Now I get why Dad can't stand you.
Stop it. You all owe your lives to me. I'm your benefactor, so stop siding with Jackson.
Stop making Dad out to be the bad guy when he did nothing wrong. You pushed Dad into a corner, and yet it's Dad's fault. Enough is enough.
Don't you get it when I say stop? So I'm the one who's all wrong? I haven't done anything wrong. Cut the crap. At this point, even Jack couldn't hold back his anger and confronted Madeline. Just then, Ethan, who's usually reserved, had a flushed face. Alice, who was sitting next to him, couldn't hide her surprise. Then Ethan stood up.
Enough is enough. What's the point in just listening? Doesn't Mom know how to give a compliment? First, you set up your own husband, then your son's wife. Isn't it just a series of wrongdoings? Don't you think about supporting and helping each other? You just dump your problems on others. You always get your way and lie when it's convenient. Who's on my side here? I'm thankful for you giving birth to us, but what about gratitude? Isn't a family about helping each other out? Our life works because of Dad's support. This isn't a joke. From now on, don't show your face here again. Go away.
Even Jack was surprised by this. Ethan usually doesn't talk much. He lets Jack do the talking while he observes. But now the roles have reversed. Madeline was speechless. Facing eviction, she put up a fight. You guys have changed. Your wives are controlling you. Realize your mistake. Now she turned her accusations toward us, the daughters-in-law. So I told her straight. Apparently, Madeline had been harassing her mother-in-law, grandmother-in-law since they got married, causing Jackson great stress. Grandmother-in-law even wanted to stop living together. When her father-in-law passed away, she suggested sending the elderly to a nursing home. I said the same thing to her. Madeline started making excuses. I was treated like a maid. I did all the housework. That's why I left. It was the same when her husband died. She went to a nursing home by choice. Don't blame me. Really? You who can't cook, treated like a maid? That's an interesting story. Emery, who lived next door to the in-laws' house, told me about it. Grandmother-in-law was always crying because of you. What? That? Don't be stupid. You're just a daughter-in-law. Listen, I lost my house because of you. I'm moving in here. Sorry, but this house belongs to my dad. He left it to us. Are you disowning me? You've been disowning yourself all along. So, that's... Madeline had no choice but to leave. She clung on until the very end, but never apologized. Ethan and Jack vowed never to see her again and blocked her number. I did the same. Eventually, Ethan and Jack reconnected with their estranged father, Jackson. Misunderstandings were cleared, and they started going out for meals as a family. Madeline contacted Jackson saying she wants to restart their relationship because she's mentally exhausted from a live-in job. Jackson has no such intentions and is happy to spend time with his sons. Finally, we're expecting a child, and everyone is looking forward to welcoming the new member. We value the bonds of our family and will continue to support each other.